There is a chance that it could be a spirit saying go.
Spies.
Fuck it, 60 down.
So do you find anything paranormal about
Absolutely not. It's locked for a reason.
Is it locked?
It's locked.
I'm actually regretting doing it.
Alright. I'm being respectful, yeah?
That's an actual serious question. Oh man! This is Worthing, and this is Clapham Woods. Now, over the years, there have been a lot of controversies surrounding Clapham Woods, from UFOs to satanic cult meetings. I got most of my information from a blog called SJH Strange Tales, which went in depth into the history of the woods and everything that's happened there. Animal disappearances are strangely common in Clapham Woods. One dog owner even reports her dog began running in circles, foaming at the mouth, eyes bulging in terror. There was actually a book written on Clapham Woods called The Demonic Connection, in which the authors claimed that a devil-worshipping group regularly used the woods. They called themselves Friends of Hecate. The authors claim the missing animals were being used as a ritual sacrifice. There have been 4 known murders in Clapham Woods: Peter Goldsmith, Leon Foster and Gillian Matthews, who was raped and strangled. The most bizarre death for me, however, was the former vicar of Clapham, Reverend Harry Neil Snelling. He disappeared Halloween 1978. Even though the police did a thorough search of the area, his body was only found almost 3 years later, in August 1981. Despite all of this, me and my friends decided to go there and see it for ourselves.
Fuck, am I going first?
Because you've been the most annoying and hopefully you'll be
No,
the
I'm not.
The first place we decided to go at Clapham Woods was the old church house.
No, we're near enough, right? So we're at a church. Sydney says it's Satanist.
It's locked for a reason.
Is it locked?
It's just locked, look.
Your job is to say
So that's locked. Right, so I'll jump it and then...
There's a graveyard.
No, this church isn't actually Satanist, but Charles Walker, one of the authors of The Demonic Connection, was once visiting the church when he spotted a barn nearby. He said that the barn was unlocked, and inside it was decorated as a satanic chapel. At about 11:30, the scariest moment of the night happened. And by scariest moment of the night, I mean some birds flew out of a tree. But it was really scary at the time.
It's not been as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I don't know why I think that. Oh man!
Yo, no!
Sorry, crows! I don't want to watch.
I want to watch that. Only time that one of us actually saw something.
just swear I saw something. I can't see shit.
Why are you doing that?
I swear I just saw something. Like, I know this sounds really like cheesy, but I swear I just saw this woman in a dress. It was weird. Like, it was facing away.
After Harry saw a creepy lady in a dress, we decided to get in the car ASAP to avoid death and have a quick discussion about our thoughts on the whole experience.
We did not see anything creepy or supernatural, but there was scary moments. We went down a little trail and then the birds flew.
That was pretty scary.
Why do you think they flew though? We were
There's no proof that that was a spirit, and it's obviously most likely that the birds just flew away because they heard us coming down the trail.
Birds flew. What could it be? Like, there is a chance that it could be a spirit saying go away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a full-on chance that
it couldn't.
But the thing is, we weren't being that loud. We were quite quiet.
It's little things that just the reflection of the light from the camera and from the
it's
torches.
we're paranoid.
You're so paranoid. You see your light reflect off a puddle and you literally think you're about to die.
It wasn't long, however, before paranoia kicked back in and we thought we saw something behind the car.
What are we looking at?
Shall I drive? Is it time to go?
We decided to get out of there, but leaving Clapham Woods, I felt a little deflated that we hadn't seen anything super clearly. We were creeped out, but I didn't feel like I got the proof that I needed. Still, I wouldn't recommend going to Clapham Woods in the middle of the night if you don't need to. After an unsuccessful trip to Clapham Woods, I decided it was time to call on a professional. So I posted an ad on every local paranormal page I could find, and to my surprise, I actually got a reply. A few days later, I was Skyping with Laurie Emma Buckley, a member of Sussex Paranormal Division.
So, when did you kind of first start believing in ghosts? Is it something that you've always believed in, or?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, there was a programme on TV called Strange But True. It was kind of the late 80s, early 90s. And it had all these kind of ghost stories and horror stories, things that were unexplained. And I was fascinated with it because it scared me and it interested me at the same time. And I used to go to the library when I was a kid, probably about 8-9 years old, and take out books about the paranormal and just terrify myself with these real life ghost stories and exorcisms and things like that. Which is probably not that normal for a kid, actually, thinking about it. Yeah. Always been fascinated by it. Didn't start investigating properly until about nearly 3 years ago now. We generally arrive at the venue probably about 8-9 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
We'll spend about an hour setting up, walking around the place, familiarising ourselves with it, set up some cameras, decide which rooms we want to investigate, because usually you can get a feel for them when you're walking around.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do some vigils.
So you said you kind of get a feel for certain rooms, so is that just inside of you just feel like there's something there, or?
Sometimes you can do. I mean, some people don't. However, generally if we're in a place that tends to have a lot of activity, there's a kind of electric feeling in the air, so your hairs stand up on end on your arms and your neck. It can feel very cold, even if it's a cold place anyway. It's a different kind of cold. It's goes right down your back.
So can you kind of recall some of your most kind of shocking or obvious paranormal experiences, where you would say, okay, that's definitely a paranormal thing?
Yeah, you never forget a thing like that.
Yeah.
The first time I ever experienced anything was the first event I went on, actually.
Okay.
So it was a little treat for me and my brother. So we were kind of, we watch Ghost Adventures, let's go on an event and see if something happens. But we didn't actually think anything was going to. I was in this hallway. I won't say hallway, it was more like a tunnel, pitch black. All the other people from the event were there. And we lined the tunnel either side, and I could see a little safety light in front of me with a woman's hair in front of it. So it was a tiny little red light. It was like a fire emergency light. And all of a sudden, the light disappeared in front of me. And I thought, oh, okay, that woman must have moved. And I moved my head to the side, and I could still see her in front of the light. And there was a black shape in front of me, blocking it. And at this point, I became really frightened because I'd never experienced anything like that before. And I looked the other side, and I could see it the other side as well. So there was kind of a hooded figure in front of me, a bit shorter than me. And I said really quietly, there's somebody standing right in front of me. And everybody immediately either side of me just moved right away. The medium was really good. She said, don't be frightened. Are you intimidated? And I said, yeah, I feel really intimidated actually, because I think it's right up in my face. And then it moved away just as quickly as it had arrived. So I actually saw it move away, and I'd never seen anything before in my life that was paranormal. I just couldn't explain it. I have been there back since, about a year later, and I had very different experiences, not the same at all. I had my bum slapped in an empty corridor. There was one person around, and they were in front of me, but it was very hard. I've got some video evidence of when we were investigating once in Kidderminster in a nuclear bunker. It was built in the 60s, completely abandoned, huge place. It's miles and miles long. And the only person behind me was the cameraman. And he was about a good 15, 20 feet behind me. Everybody else was in front of me. And you can clearly see on the camera, my T-shirt from underneath my jacket gets pulled right down. And I turned round straight away and went, oh, what was that? So I felt it. So yeah, that's one of many. The only time I've ever had an experience in woods was in Epping Forest, and accidentally unknowingly walked over the spot where a woman's body was found once. I had no idea at the time, but I felt like I was drunk. I hadn't been drinking at all, but only over that spot everything went dizzy. I couldn't move my legs felt very heavy until I got away from the area. So kind of looking out for physical sensations. So if you get kind of a blast of cold air on you and you know that area isn't windy, calling out can certainly help. Some people don't like to do it, and I totally respect that, but provocation, so saying things like, if there's anybody out there, just give us a sign that you're here, pull my hair, or touch my hand, or touch my shoulder. What you feel, if you have no rational explanation for it, like I didn't when I got slapped on the bum in a tunnel in a cave, that's unexplainable. Generally, from what I've learned from people who have done this sort of thing for many years, there's different types of spirits. So there's kind of active spirits that are communicative. There's ghosts, which are kind of a replay of the past. So it's the energy just replaying itself. People talk about people seeing World War II soldiers just walking around not knowing where they are, and it's just a replay of that energy from before. They're not sentient. The best thing to do if you feel like you're being intimidated, or if you feel like you're going to have some sort of attachment or take something home with you, is just to say, leave me alone, or I'm not afraid of you, or goodbye, even just goodbye. And just turn around and walk away and ignore it, because what happens more often than not is that if a place is haunted, it's the place that's haunted, not the people. The only thing that I try and seek when I go out on paranormal investigations is a rational explanation for everything that's happening. So, something might seem completely out of the ordinary and completely crazy, but if you look hard enough, usually it does have a rational explanation, however crazy. Science is crazy, the world is crazy, it can do weird and wonderful things. And whatever you're left with, like me having my bum slapped again in an empty corridor, is unexplainable and is the paranormal, and I think that's what I do it for.
This time this place. It's got me like a ghost town. Bands won't play no more. Too much fighting on the dance floor.
For my next paranormal adventure, I decided to go to the local Dome cinema. I'd read online that staff members had reported seeing ghosts there, and I wanted to check the place out. The cinema had a really strange feel to it. The rooms open to the public were actually really nice, but when we went behind the scenes, it was an entirely different story. I got shown behind the cinema screen, and honestly, it felt like I'd been transported into a horror film. Over the past few weeks, I've spoken to some amazing people who have almost convinced me that ghosts exist. I've been creeped out and had a few scares, but I still haven't seen anything with my own eyes. Until then, I think it's safe to say I'm right back where I started. Perhaps one day I'll see a ghost, but I kind of hope not.